Welcome to the webinar session on Crack the CCSP Code. We will discuss, this is another session for the CCSP QA session. So my name is Krish. Most people already know me. For those people who are new to my profile, I'm an enterprise cloud security architect for more than about 18 plus years experience. And I consult for various organizations worldwide on their cloud security posture management, cloud security architecture, cloud security management, pen testing, assessment, and all. And also, I do training for various technologies and platform specific architectures in the cloud computing. For more information, you can visit my LinkedIn profile. So, today, team, our plan is to discuss about the CCSP exam preparation. So I have done multiple previous sessions on the CCSP QA sessions on the exam preparation part, where you can understand how to set the mindset and all. This is the next part of the series where we will discuss 10 precise questions which will help you to understand the CCSP mindset and help you to basically crack the exam more easily to get the exam information more clearly. So, first of all, team, when talking about the word called as CCSP mindset, what exactly you have to understand on that? So, whenever you're going for the CCSP examination, if you have gone through my previous videos, you will know that CCSP is basic completely a vendor neutral examination. That means we are not talking about any cloud service providers or any specific cloud platforms. Here we are completely talking about the governance, compliance, and management aspects of the cloud security, generic cloud security. Okay, and as we have discussed in the previous videos, that the from August this examination has been again back to 3 hours and 125 questions. All these things we have discussed in our previous webinars, so I'm not taking much time. I'm directly going to the questions. But before that, team, one thing I wanted to stress on this particular thing is that now whenever we basically go for the cloud computing scenarios, whenever you go for a business, whenever we go for a cloud computing, or whenever we go for cloud scenarios, one most important thing I have mentioned in all my sessions is that the first thing is that your thought process. Okay, your thought process. And what is the most important part in the thought process? You have to think from your business. You have to think from your business perspective, your organizational perspective. Okay, this is the first point which I always tell everyone. So, do you know the reason why I'm saying like that, team? So, like I previously, explained in my previous webinars and all. If you remember, when talking about the organizational perspective, I will give you commonly we always I give you a single question, right? So whenever somebody tell you to choose a cloud platform, which one you will choose, team? So whenever somebody tell you to choose a particular cloud platform, or whenever somebody tell you to choose a cloud solution, the first point to keep in mind is that we will not simply go for, or we will not simply choose any random platforms, but the first thing is that we will choose the platform which are basically specific for our business. That's a very important point, right? What we do is that whatever we are doing, we basically choose the things as per the business requirements. So the first thing we'll understand is that we will check what is our actual organizational requirements, and based on that organizational requirement is what we will decide which cloud platform we have to go for. Do I have to really go for a cloud platform, or do I have to go for a on premises? In the cloud platform itself, which one I have to go for? Is it AWS? Is it Google Cloud Platform? Is it Oracle Cloud Platform, or is it something else? So you have to understand which specific cloud platform you will go for, and based on that only what we do, then we plan further, right? This is one major point when you go for the examination. If you are a person who is working in AWS technology, or Azure, or Google Cloud Platform, or any specific cloud platform, please make sure that you keep that particular vendor specific things aside, because having a platform knowledge, having a cloud platform knowledge is very important for you when you basically go for the CCSP examination. But more than having a platform knowledge, understanding the business requirements is what comes first whenever we talk about this examination. So if you are good in, let's say for example, you are good in AWS, so that helps you to map things, but doesn't mean that don't think about AWS perspective. Because in CCSP, when you're learning something, you will feel like, Krish, in AWS we are doing it differently. In Azure, we are doing it differently. So don't think about one single cloud service provider here. This is a vendor neutral examination. So always think from your organizational perspective. The first thing is that think about your business, and based on your business requirements, you can choose the cloud platform or any service of the cloud platform. This is the first point we have to keep in mind when talking about the CCSP examination. The second most important point regarding the examination theme, when you basically go for this examination, so most of the questions will be scenario based. As we discussed in all our sessions before, most of the questions we are having will be scenario based. That means that they will give you a simple scenario or simple use case, something like that, and they will ask you a question. So you have to make sure, the first point, I'm repeating the same thing which I have discussed in all my previous sessions. This is the way I will instruct all my candidates till now, and this is basically what gives me the best result in the market. The first thing is that you always, whatever you feel like, you have to always read the choices, read the answers first, read the choices first. Don't read the question, read the choices first. This is the first and the most important thing you have to keep in mind. Once you read all the choices, I'll say read all the choices. The second, so what is the benefit of reading all the choices, team? By reading all the choices, you will know that, okay, now, okay, this one is basically you will get an idea about the context, you will get an idea about the odd one out. So it's a good thing to read the choices first. The second thing which you have to do is that after reading all the choices, read the entire question. Read entire question. That's a very important point. So even though you feel like you already know something, even though you feel like, Krish, I already know this, I have seen this somewhere else, whatever you feel like, read the entire question, the whole scenario and the whole question you have to read. And the third thing is that in every question, let's say we have a scenario, okay, let's say we have a scenario, okay, and then we have a question, just an example. Now when you basically go through the scenario, don't bother much about the scenario there. So you learn the scenario or you understand the scenario there, then focus on what they're asking you. Don't try to, emphasize on working with the entire scenario. Understand the scenario or understand the context of question and focus on what they're asking you. And that is only what we have to think about. Okay. If you can go in this manner, the exam will be much more easier for you. I have seen many people, have the problem they face in CCSP is that they try to read the entire question. Obviously, it's very important, but after reading the question, they try to solve all the problems mentioned in the question. Okay, now I have a question there where I have a massive scenario with a question. So it's not my job to solve all the problems you see there. So you have to see the entire scenario, then focus on what question they are asking you. So these are the key points we have to understand initially before you basically while you're preparing for the CCSP examination. So whatever questions I'm going to show further is a kind of a practice questions, real questions you will never get in the market anywhere. Whatever I'm giving you is a practice questions which will give you a exam flavor, which will help you to understand the how you have to get your mindset ready for the examination. And last but not least, team, when you're writing the CCSP examination, always keep this point in mind. As the name suggests, certified cloud security professional. That means you are a professional and you are not a practitioner. That means that you are the one who has to work in the governance side. You are the person who has to work in the strategic side, not the one who has to configure the AWS cloud platform or the Azure cloud platform. Think more like a management perspective, think more like a business perspective. This is the most important thing we have to keep in mind. So let's begin. Let's go to the questions, team. So this is the question number one. You are the cloud security manager at a financial services firm. Your organization is planning to migrate several critical applications to the public cloud environment. During the planning phase, you have been tasked with ensuring that the migration aligns with compliance requirements and industry standards while also addressing security risk. Which of the following actions should you take to effectively manage the cloud migration process while ensuring compliance and security? So team, what I'm trying to say is that in this whole question, okay, they are trying to focus what is the key point, what is the key areas they are trying to focus. Effectively manage the cloud migration process. So migration process while ensuring compliance and security. So the compliance and security concerns while you're doing a migration, right? That's a key point. Now, if I go for A, focus solely on selecting a provider that offer lowest cost, completely idiotic, definitely not. Cost is definitely a critical factor, but that doesn't mean cost is the only factor we have to worry about. And question is not talking about cost, question is talking about ensuring compliance and security. So A is out of the box. Then if I go for D, delay the migration until all potential risks come. Team, can you completely eliminate risk? Is it possible for us to completely eliminate the risk? No. So D is out. Risk cannot be eliminated. Third one, if I go for C, assume that existing security policy will suffice for the cloud environment without any modification updates, as the CSP will handle the security. Okay, assume so definitely you cannot think about the think that okay, whatever existing security architecture or policy you are having, that exactly will work in the cloud platform, because when you go to a cloud platform, it is very important for you to rework your existing security policies to meet the cloud as well. That's a very important point, team. So C is also out of the list. If you go for B, understand the business requirements, perfect. Conduct a comprehensive compliance and security assessment of the provider, ensuring that they meet the regulatory requirement and standards before migration. Before you perform a real migration, you have to make sure that you understand the cloud service providers compliance and regulatory requirements, and based on that, and once you have assurance that the provider have a proper security posture management, security assurance, and they comply with the proper standards and regulations you have to go for, then you can decide if you want to go to that provider or not. The answer is B. Perfect. Okay, so that's the first question, team. Moving on to the next question. Okay, you are the data protection officer at a healthcare management that is migrating patient records to a cloud environment. Your primary concern is ensuring that sensitive data is adequately protected in compliance with regulations like HIPAA. You need to implement a data security strategy that addresses the CIA: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Which of the following data security measures should you prioritize to ensure the protection of sensitive patient information on cloud? So you want to protect the CIA. Okay, you want to have a proper CIA of the PHI, personal health information of the people. Now, if I go for the choices from bottom to top, rely on a simple backup strategy, assuming that having backups is enough to ensure data availability and protection. Never. Backups is basically a way for redundancy, which can help us in availability sometime, but again, it's not a complete solution, so it's out of the list. Then use only data masking techniques. Masking techniques have always a limitations, and basically that is not something which is basically done for, or that doesn't address the confidentiality or integrity or availability properly. So BC is also out. If I go for B, focus exclusively on securing the provider's infrastructure. See, cloud service providers infrastructure is the responsibility of the CSP only, right? As a cloud service customer, how do you do that? So B is out. So implement encryption for data at rest, data in transit, and of course data in motion nowadays to ensure confidential integrity. Perfect. And establish a robust backup and DR plan to maintain the availability. The answer suffices all the CIA requirements as of now. So answer is A. Is it clear, team, all of you? The answer is A. Okay, moving on to the next question. So now, when I'm discussing this, many people may feel, Krish, it is not. So we need to implement even more things. But this is based out of the choices in the examination. Out of the choices, you have to find the best one. That's the point. Okay, like that. So moving on to the next question, team. As the Chief Information Security Officer at a growing software development company, you are overseeing the security posture of applications hosted across multiple cloud platforms. You're tasked with presenting a security strategy to the executive team that balances security needs with business objectives, particularly in terms of operational efficiency and cost management. Which of the following strategies should you recommend to the executive team to efficiently manage cloud platform and infrastructure security while supporting the business growth? So now, in this question, before we go for the key point part, one thing you have to keep in mind is that, see, this is basically the whole scenario. This is the whole context they're explaining. Okay. This is what they're asking you. Focus on what they're asking you. Focus here. Understand this and focus this. Okay, focus on what they're asking you. Now tell me, what is the key point in this? What you recommend to effectively manage cloud platform and its security while supporting the business growth. Okay, from bottom to top, if I go for D, delay all cloud related projects until a fully security overhaul of the existing. No, definitely not. C, rely solely on providers security features and assume that their compliant guarantees full protection of your organization's data. Rely solely on the provider security features and assume that the compliance guarantee. No, definitely no. Because by simply just relying on the cloud providers, which just doesn't mean that it's completely secure, and that doesn't guarantee your full protection of your data for sure. Then allocate the entire budget to never, definitely not, because security is a widespread thing. It's not only about the detection tools. So if I go for B, develop a comprehensive security framework. That's a very important thing. So team, whenever you basically go for a architecture, like when you go for a cloud platform, you need to have a cloud adoption framework. When talking about security, you need to have a security framework. You need to basically build a proper framework, or take some baselines and build a proper framework that supports your business directly, which includes risk assessment, obviously very important thing, training for employees, incident response, and basically the business impact, and also prioritizing the assets also. The answer is B. B for beta. Okay, going on to the next question, team. As the application security manager at a financial institution, you are tasked with securing a new mobile banking application that will process sensitive customer transactions. The development team is following a DevOps approach, aiming for rapid release cycles. Your goal is to ensure that security is integrated early into the development process to identify and address vulnerabilities proactively. Which of the following practices should you implement to effectively embrace shift left security in the DevOps pipeline for the mobile banking application? So, team, now, whenever, see, this is a very important, exam testable area. I feel always, because see, whenever we talk about the word called as DevOps, before I go to the answer, I just want to quickly give an idea. Whenever I give you a point of DevOps, in DevOps, what is the emphasis? What you're emphasizing in DevOps? You're trying to basically, you want to achieve the results quickly. That means what? Okay, now I want to speed up the whole process. I want to build a pipeline, and I want the whole dev to deployment process, the CI/CD process. I want to do that. That's the only goal of a DevOps. But the problem is that I never think about security here. And at the end of the whole story, I add it like a fancy thing. I just add it like some add-ons. And what do you feel? Do you think that adding those security as an additional thing at the end of the particular whole application deployment process is better? Or shall we basically do it early in the initial phases and ensure that security is there in every part of it? Obviously, every part of it, right? Right. That should be in each level. That's basically what we call as shift left. The whole process of a secure SDLC or DevSecOps. This is the whole approach. try to identify the security threats and vulnerabilities in the early stages and fix them or put the controls there itself instead of taking it to the production, so thereby saving a lot of cost, time, avoiding downtime, more customer satisfaction. That's the reason why now almost every business is going for something called as a DevSecOps, right? Like we have multiple tools for the whole thing. Like we have a SAST, DAST, IAST, RASP. We have a lot of stuff for there. Okay, let's see the answers here. So if I go for A, conduct security testing only after application is fully developed, and obviously no, because that's what we have discussed now. It's not A. The second thing is introduce security training for developers and integrate automatic security tools. So SAS for code analysis, DAS for runtime testing, IAS for monitoring applications real time. Answer is B because obviously it's clear to the point. That's why the answer is B. Even though B, if you ask me, Krish, that doesn't mean that B is the precise one when you think about real time. No, we may have more things, but out of these four choices, B makes more clear sense, right? That should be in every phase, and we must make sure that we put the proper tools like SAS, DAST, IAS, and all the tools in properly, and then implement that. Application security is a big one of the major concerns we have in the cloud team. In talking about the cloud perspective, what I always see is that application security indeed is the most important, or one of the most important things you have to keep in mind. Because I have seen many people, miss this particular thing. They feel like, okay, at the end of the day, it's not something that much serious, and we will take care of it later. No, application security is a concern indeed, and we must make sure we address it properly. Very, very important for us. Okay, team. So going on to the next question. Answer this. As the application security manager at a healthcare company, you are responsible for the security of new application that handles patient data and complies with strict regulatory requirements. To proactively identify potential threats to your application, you decide to implement a threat model process early in the development life cycle. Which of the following practice should you prioritize during threat modeling process to effectively identify and mitigate the risk associated with the application? So first of all, team, in which phase of the SDLC we are doing this particular threat modeling? That's a very important point for exam. Okay, in which particular phase of the SDLC you're doing this particular threat modeling? It's done in the design phase. So obviously because of that, you have to make sure it must be a multi, technology or multi expert team. It's not like one single application developer or someone has to involve. It must be from different teams must be there for making sure that we are addressing all the concerns properly. So let's see about the from bottom to top. Conduct threat modeling only after application is developed. No, definitely not. It's part of design phase, so it's out. Use threat modeling without involving your teams in discussion. Definitely it's not possible, because obviously that will mess up the whole story. Focus solely on known vulnerabilities from previous applications. Definitely no, because for each application it can be different. Gather a cross-functional team that includes developers, security experts, business stakeholders to collaboratively identify potential threats and vulnerabilities. The answer is A, during the design phase. If you know this point, this answer is ECC, during the design phase. Even though if you feel the answer is A, I always recommend that you go for all the choice. Okay, because now by seeing the design phase, we know the answer is A. But it's mandatory in the exam that you have to go through all the choices, because sometimes one single word can change the entire stuff. Answer is A. Next one. Your organization has recently experienced a data breach where sensitive customer information was exposed. The incident has attracted significant media attention and has led to regulatory investigations. Which of the following is the most important step to take from a legal and compliance perspective? So, team, read all the choices. Even if you feel A is right, or B is right, or C is right, or D is right, read all the choices. Make sure you keep that word for me. Read the choices. That's a or read every choice. Very important. So Once there is a legal, or once there's a data breach happen, it's very important for the company to perform an incident response and root cause analysis. So A should be right for sure. Incident management, problem management should be there, so A is right for sure. Then notify affected customers immediately and provide them with information about breach and steps they can take to protect themselves. Obviously, yes, they have notified customers. Now here the answer is all of the above. All of the above. That's a very important thing. All of the above. Okay, next one. Your organization is implementing a new cloud-based application that will process sensitive customer data. Which of the following is most important security control to implement to protect data in transit between the organization's on-premise network and the cloud environment? So when talking about data in transit, one major control we should have is basically what we call as a encryption. We should have a encryption. Answer is A, because that's a quite simple and straightforward. The answer is A only. Okay, moving on to the next question. A company is planning to migrate its customer data to a cloud provider. As a manager, which of the following steps should you prioritize to ensure compliance with data protection regulations? So, what steps should you take as a manager to comply with the data protection regulations and compliance? Okay, so now let's say if I go for question talking about data, right? Data. So in this question, when talking about protecting data, team, first of all we need to know what is the sensitive data in the company. Okay, when talking about protecting data, first thing is you can't directly protect every piece of data, right? So you, as a manager, you have the first thing you must know is what is the sensitive data, what kind of data you're going to protect. So you must perform a data discovery and classification, and based on that, once you identify the sensitive data, then decide the kind of a controls or decide the things based on that. So you have to perform a classification and categorization. You have to perform a classification and categorization of data. Then you have to basically follow the further steps. Okay, the answer is B. Definitely cloud agreement is very important, but that is not this part of it. That is a difference, that is at a different point of time, not at this particular phase. Here we are talking about data. Okay, so the next thing, team, next question, answer this, team. Your organization is considering using a new cloud service provider for its application hosting needs. As a cloud security manager, you're tasked with evaluating the risk associated with the third party service. During the risk assessment process, what should be your primary focus to ensure that your organization remains compliant with relevant regulations? For regulatory and compliance, the primary focus. So, team, here the problem is that if you only focus on this particular point, I can't complain. Okay, you can go for B. You can go for B. But here there is a catch. During the risk assessment process, during the risk assessment process, you're not evaluating the provider, you're doing a risk assessment. At that time of risk assessment, what is your primary focus? That's a tricky question. If you focus on this particular point, you will get the answer. The providers compliance with industry regulations and standards. If definitely if that point was this point was not there, then definitely I also will confuse between B and C for sure. But now the question clearly says during the risk assessment process. Okay, The answer is C. Last one, team. Last question for today. Your organization is in the process of designing a new cloud based application that will handle sensitive customer information. As a security manager, team, just please keep yourself on mute if you're not talking. So, as a cloud security manager, as a manager, you need to ensure that security is integrated into the architecture from the beginning. Which of the following strategies should you prioritize to effectively incorporate security into the design of the application? So let's see the answer. So first of all, let's go from bottom to top. Deploying a WAF as an afterthought to monitor traffic? No, definitely not, because that is just one particular thing. See, question clearly says design of the application. Incorporate security in design phase. Simple team, when talking about design phase and security, threat modeling is a word which must come as a part of it immediately. Nothing more. Don't think much. Okay, this is basically in multiple phases, including development. So the answer is B.